You have pain in your knees while squatting? If it's not structural, we can fix it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say structural, be sure to check out part 1 of this series. Now, in a perfect world, you should be able to squat all the way down, having your hamstrings touch your calf muscles with no pain in your knees. If you just tried that and you couldn't do it, no judgment. Let me show you some basics. It's important to remember that everybody is built different. Get it? The first thing you have to do is find a squat stance that's optimal to you. Now, you've probably been in the gym where people have given you advice and told you to turn your feet in or out, but let me show you how to find a stance that's exactly for you. First, we have to understand hip anatomy. Hips naturally connect to the femur at a slight angle forward, which is your standard hip angle. But in a world where we like to keep things interesting, not everybody's built the same. Some people's hips are angled more forward, which would be known as anteversion, and some people's hips are naturally more flat, pointing more lateral, which would be known as retroversion. In order to know which one you may or may not have, we can do a simple test to help you find out by simply testing your external and internal rotation of your hips. The first thing you want to do is get down on your back, bring one knee up towards your chest, keep it at 90 degrees, and keep the other leg flat on the ground. Now from here, all you're going to do is rotate your leg inward and outward. It might seem a little counterintuitive, but when you rotate your leg out, you're actually testing internal rotation. And when you rotate your leg in, you're actually testing external rotation. While keeping your leg at 90, you really want to push your limits to see what your range of motion actually is, both internal and external, and be sure to check it on both legs. Now, if you have anteversion, remember hips more straightforward, you may have excessive internal rotation and limited external rotation. It's natural for this person to squat with their feet more straightforward in line with those hips. Your feet facing outward may actually limit your range of motion, and it may also lead to knee and hip pain. If you have retroversion, you may have limited internal rotation and excessive external rotation. It's natural for this person to squat with their feet angled more out. If this person tried to angle their feet straight forward, it would actually close off the hip and potentially lead to impingements. If you don't have excess either, you may have a natural hip structure. So this person's stance isn't straightforward and it's not out either. It's somewhere right in between. Once you find your natural squatting form and you still can't get those hamstrings to those calves, we can actually start pinpointing some of the restrictions you may be facing. Number 1, ankle dorsiflexion. If this is restricted, you'll likely feel like you're about to fall backwards every time you deep squat. In order to fix this, you'll need to free up that soleus to gain some mobility in your ankle. Number 2 is restricted hip mobility. This is usually caused by tight hamstrings. If they're too tight, what they'll do is they'll pull your hips down and back towards your glutes, basically tucking it under and causing an overextension of your back. Number 3, thoracic spine extension. If you don't have this extension in that thoracic spine, you'll likely have a hard time keeping an upright position, and your lower body will compensate in some way to keep your body from falling forward. Number 4, your hip flexors. Think psoas, iliacus, TFL. If these muscles are weak, you won't be able to squeeze them in a deep flexion, and you'll likely feel like you're falling backwards and you'll round your back. Number 5, the anterior tibialis. This controls dorsiflexion. If this is weak, you'll likely have a hard time pulling your foot towards your shin. Femur length also matters. If you have a longer femur, your hips will push back further and your chest will bend over a little bit more to keep your body in line with your center of gravity. Shorter femurs make it easier to stay upright. Now, once you've checked all of these off the list, you've got your stance right, your squat form will be perfect and you will be pain-free. But what about running? Be sure you like this video, comment, subscribe, and be sure you hit that bell so you can be alerted when I drop the next video where I show you how you can run your next marathon pain-free, or chase the kids around the house, or play basketball, whatever it is you got, I'm gonna show you how to run without pain. See you there.